Hey guys, today we're going to be checking out how the meta has changed in 8.9, who's doing a lot better or who is doing a lot worse. We're getting into mid-season now, by the way, so we will start to see big shifts every single patch. Like this one was really about mid lane, next is going to be more about the jungle, and the one after that is for AD carries. As always though, list and timestamps below, but let's jump into AD carry to start with. So Kai'Sa nerfs hit pretty hard, but she still seems to be okay, like good, just not as good as before. We've got Ezreal up here as well, Jinx and Caitlyn. So the double tier Ezreal build makes him a lot better in my opinion, fun to play as well, easier to play, and you don't have to end the game as fast. Some games when you get railed, it will really suck because you've got even longer stacking on those tiers, so you don't get your mana immune as fast, and then you're not going to get your Archangel stacked either. As long as you can get a few Klepto procs though, some gold from that, get mana immune early, this build works really well. You'll have basically like your Mira mana transform by the time you get Archangels. It makes your Q hit much harder with more AP and AD, like a dual scaling. It makes it hit harder with more mana as well, plus a massive shield to protect yourself. There's always the same issue with Ezreal where you won't scale as hard as other AD carries, but you're picking him to get your items a bit faster, have a good early to mid game, and keep up with the others then. Jinx is almost the only standout AD when it comes to looking at the win rate, so the role is pretty even at the moment. She's kind of the only AD as well that hasn't been nerfed for a while, honestly. Like, let's be honest, like every other AD pretty much has been toned down. Partly she fits his style of game really well, like at 2 items she's going to pop off, and then 3 and 4 and keep going throughout the rest of the game. That's partly because of the buffs actually. They moved attack speed into a Q rank rather than level. You also have really high range, so you're staying safe, you have AoE, and you have burst, so all of that's really good. The other part is that just AD carries around you aren't as strong anymore, but you also have this dual side of things, so you can fight in the lane phase, your support get crowd control into traps, or she can farm it up and scale well. Now Kai'Sa is still good as we said, but she doesn't heal or burst as hard anymore, and I think she is more balanced. Like 2 to 3 items after that phase, she'll be a monster because that's how she is designed, but you have more chance to beat her before that. Caitlyn is your safest option. You farm it up, you carry late, or you AFK push lane if you can get away with it. You wave clear, you take towers and control the game. Sivir is another champion that does that. She is my honorable mention for AD carry, has a good win rate actually right now and is doing really well, kind of out of nowhere. One thing with Sivir is she is quite safe. You have a spell shield, you also have the speed from your ultimate to get away. That is going to help with more damage in other roles. Also, she can stay really far back with her W bounces, so you don't have to worry as much about getting jumped on. You're quite simple to play, effective, and scale well. Okay, so let's move into the mid lane. This was the focus of the patch, right? With all of these Doran's ring changes and mage changes and stuff, and almost every single mage actually took a bit of a hit. Not a massive one, but not as strong either. We are really into stuff now that's more aggressive, like Talon, Zed, Fizz, Leblanc, except Lux on top of that. It was only a matter of time before Lux became good again with how many buffs she has been getting recently. You had the ultimate cooldown rework to start with, then the buff to that, and now we've had a bunch of buffs this patch. She isn't like broken insane level at the moment, but she is way more powerful and winning a lot more now. She's always been quite popular. It's kind of like the Lee Sin or Kha'Zix of the mid lane, I guess. Like everybody wants to play her, and her damage is actually higher. She is better. She can fish for picks more often with more binds, and her E doesn't seem too hard to hit either, even after the changes. Having a better shield actually helps her lane phase way more than we probably expected. She can block more damage while on her own. Champions like these are so good, like poke champions for solo queue anyway, especially at lower ranks. You've got to dive on her to punish her really and actually stop her from poking. If you sit back, she will poke and eventually hit her combo and kill somebody on your team. Now Talon and Zed don't really need that kind of like option anyway. They will dive in regardless. It doesn't really matter. We're going to talk about Zed and Talon together though. Both are better this patch. Mages are nerfed, right? Wave clear and pushing has been nerfed. Mana nerfed and tabby nerfs a little while ago. These are all together really good. Having less mana and wave clear on mages means that they have to choose between using spells on you or the wave. They can't really do both anymore. Most players though are still in the mindset, because it's a recent change, of they can still AFK push. So they're going to be running out of mana quicker and you can abuse them a lot more. If they have no mana, they can't really fight you and they're a very easy kill, especially for Talon actually, because he got 75 extra range on his Q. It was supposed to be like that anyway, but a bug meant it wasn't. It was down at 500, so he can engage from even further away. Leblanc is still at a very high ban rate right now. I'm taking a wild guess that that is because they put her back to being able to one-shot you in less than a second. Fizz is kind of similar to Talon and Zed. Mages are easier targets this patch now, so there's more chance you're going to be getting fed and then carry from that. Now, Zori is almost one of the only mages who did not drop her win rate with all of the Doran's ring and item changes this patch. She has been slowly getting buffed more and more anyway after she was ridiculous, and I think she might actually finally be in a really good spot again. Her poke definitely fits with this whole style of game, while Lux is going to be quite strong, and even versus assassins, she can actually sleep them, poke them down before they get in range, and they're going to have the base before they do anything. That kind of playstyle actually really slows down an assassin and is really, really good when you're against them. So the jungle hasn't really shifted that much just yet, but we're really waiting for the next patch before anything major happens. That's when we kind of got the mid-season jungle update. It is still the same kind of meta of Kha'Zix, Warwick, Graves, and Xin, really. But we can talk about Xin to start with. He's becoming more top tier, I think, as the patches go through, like Season 8. Sometimes he can look useless, though, if he gets behind or his team does and you can't really jump in and stuff. He's not really going to do anything. Other times, he's really broken, though. His burst is insane. He can gank really well, he farms well, and it's that ultimate. Unlike a lot of other carry champions, he can actually dive into a fight and survive while pumping out that damage that he has from items. AD carries can't even do much until later either. They have to get really close, and it's not safe. He can duel people, other junglers really well, like 1v1, he's almost always going to win. He can invade, he can gank, he can farm, he can do it all. The trade-off is that he will fall off as you get into the game more. Graves is now basically pick or ban, I think. He kind of came in last patch, but it's so difficult to play against him right now, and you kind of do have to pick him or ban him. One of the best farmers, damage dealers, and gold earners in the game for jungle, which is a pretty brutal combo. He also just does not die that often to make it even worse. Being ranged, having those health buffs recently, he gets pretty tanky. So I think the main things really are that faster farming means that he can spend more time ganking than most other junglers, he being more active on the map. That also leads to more items than most because of that as well, so he stays ahead of the game pace and has more items and damage than others. It is kind of that damage with the lead that is the real kicker, I guess. Like, he doesn't even need his laners to do anything when he ganks. He can kill them by himself. So moving on to our other two, Kha'Zix, like, still the best jungle assassin we have. The R evolution, though, your ultimate evolution, is getting reworked next patch, so we might see that change. Stay tuned for Wednesday's video, I think, to go over that one. The Warwick nerfs didn't really do much, though, as expected. It's still very strong, and mostly it is because of the meta. Carry junglers, so almost everything that is popular right now, cannot kill him, but he can kill them. That's why he's so good. The last one we're going to talk about is Evelynn, who has been quietly getting better and better over the last few patches, and I'm expecting her to get really good after the AP jungler love next patch. She's one of the highest damage junglers that we have at the moment, averages over 8 kills per game, which is ridiculous, but her damage is good early and even late game as well. The ultimate rework she had a while ago, being an execute, means that even when the AD carry can pop you almost instantly in a few auto attacks, if you play it correctly, so if you charm them first, you can actually execute before they're even out of it. Normally we go into support here, but it hasn't really changed that much, so we're going to go for top lane instead. We have a lot more variety now, but it's almost all back to about winning lanes, so things like Camille, Darius, Irelia, even Mundo are awesome. Mundo might be a very good jungler in Korea, but in almost every other region, people are playing him top lane way more. You can feed your ass off of Mundo. You can actually play terribly and still not die with your ultimate active. Mundo does a lot of damage already, actually, with his Q and with his E, so he can fight people, he can duel them, and he can poke them pretty well. I don't think he has a bad kit. It's been buffed over time a lot, but the problem is one item could counter his healing, and he's done so. So what they've basically done is buffed his healing so much that even with that healing reduction item, you cannot get countered. That is obviously very good for Mundo, but bad for everybody else. There is no amazing answer for him anymore unless you put him really far behind early. Vayne would be a good option, or percentage true damage and stuff, but Vayne is not really that meta at the moment. Camille is still a top tier pick, though. We haven't talked about her for a little while properly, but on the rise a little bit more. I think it's safe to say she is like the most well-rounded carry pick that you can play in Season 8. You have mobility, you can escape obviously with that hook, you can jump in and engage as well, you can stun them, lock people down with your ultimate. Your ultimate also makes it so good when you roam around, like you catch somebody, they can't get away. You're a really good ganker or roamer from mid lane and stuff like that. That is why jungle Camille actually works. Your true damage burst, though, is still really what makes you so deadly late game and separates you from a lot of other bruisers and makes you scale a bit better. It doesn't matter what happens if you're ahead or behind, you always have that potential to outplay and to nuke people down. The new Irelia seems to be nuts if she gets ahead in a game now, and she's got a much more like complicated kit. You wait for people to get used to it a bit more, learn that mark system properly, and we're all going to be in trouble. Darius, the last one, very much a staple, I guess, in any meta where winning lane can mean a lot. Conqueror makes it easier, and if you're able to crush your lane, you can roam around and be a massive threat. Vladimir is the honorable mention. It is never that popular outside of Korea, but he should be 100%. You can solo carry a game and climb really easily. The Shreddy's build fixes a lot of the issues that he had, and the new Untitled spellbook as well is really good. So the combination together just makes him even stronger. You can take Flash Ignite to start with, and you're going to be crushing your lane phase. You swap to TB to roam or get back to lane quicker. Swap to Ghost for team fight. Swap to Exhaust for a 1v1. There are loads of different options that you have, and I just think it makes Vlad even more well-rounded. So support then, last role. It hasn't really changed very much, so that's why we're leaving it here. But we have like our playmakers, Morgana, Rakan, and then the safer picks like Janna and Nami. You'll notice that even our playmakers here are more defensive nowadays as well. Like with Morgana, Rakan, they do have like a lot of offensive tools, but also defensive ones. Pure offense doesn't really work as well as it used to. There are too many ways to counter it, and too many things that just outscale you, like how useful they can be. Morgana can set up a lot of things risk-free from range with a bind, and honestly snowball a game that way. If you catch people with a bind, the rest of the team follows up, up and it's kind of like donezo for that person. The Black Shield also counters a lot of meta picks in the game, not just bot lane, but things like Rakan, for example, to have a better lane phase and a safer team fight. Rakan is one that can destroy these safer supports and squishy supports like Janna if you ultimate and you chain your crowd control properly. His engages are brutal, probably best in the game really when they are done properly. The fact that he has more AP now and damage behind him, that's why Perks is playing him mid lane, means that it's even harder to play against. Janna is still going to be here though. She's still like solid just because of the meta. She can poke early and that's really good, but keep people alive, and we have loads of carry champions to protect on our team and lots of damage to stop from the enemy team. Nami is the middle ground of all of this stuff. You can help your AD, but you can fight a lot more. With regen being nerfed a little bit for AD carry soon as well, we'll see her heal become a lot more useful, and I think she'll become even better. Speaking of which, Soraka is becoming more meta, and once we get those changes soon, she will be top tier, I think. Actually, she's also very close at the moment. Her heals are really good for the lane phase, helps the bad AD through them, and honestly, she can dominate lane, as weird as that sounds. She pokes, does a fair amount of damage with Avery, she heals her AD carry, and it's very hard to play against. Her silence is actually what we're looking at right now though. Damage and assassins are running around everywhere, but her silence shuts them down 100%. So a Zed ulting in on your AD carry, right, is the best example, because you silence on top of your AD carry. Zed cannot use his shadow back to go there, and he can't use his Q or E either because he's silenced. He literally has no damage and he cannot get out either, and it is such a hard counter. So that is going to wrap up our look into this patch and how the game is changing. Thank you for watching. If you're still here, by the way, I will be playing through God of War on stream this week, so it'll be awesome to see you guys over there, link down below. But for now, I'll leave you with the robots.